good early evening, everybody, I suppose, and the last thing between you guys and the drink. I'm just ask you to do a favor for me. Could everybody put up their right arm, please? And now, with due care to who's beside you, put your left one out to the side. Okay, hold that. We have an internal competition in Learnovate for who took the most unusual picture at the show, so I'm kind of hoping I might be in with a chance. Good afternoon, and thanks for listening to me this evening. I'm going to talk to you. What we've heard today is everything, I suppose, around Learnovate being a rally point for our industry. And we're very pleased that we serve that function. But for just this last section, we just want to talk about the other thing we do. And it's about where the rubber hits the road in Learnovate. And it's where we carry out research projects, be they core projects carried out under our own volition, be they competitive projects won through European funding, or be they funded projects where organizations have come to us and asked us to help them solve a problem. The one I'm going to talk to you about this afternoon is TriSkill. Spoiler alert, there's no end to this story yet, okay? So we're in the early days of this. But what it is a magnificent story of how, when our wheels start going, how it all comes together. So we wanted to share that one with you. Our big idea, and it wasn't a small one, a national platform dedicated to the development of core digital and data skills. We heard the panel refer to these core digital and data skills and the importance that's there. Cisco and Skillnet are the funders of this project. Just to put a bit of meat on that as well, by the way, we might understand why Skillnet will be there, but Cisco have come in with a great interest from a kind of a corporate social responsibility, CSR perspective, to support this project, which is fantastic, you know. And looking for trouble. So, look, we call ourselves problem hunters in Learnovate as well. What we want are painful problems. We're actually reasonably confident with what we have inside in Learnovate that we can have a fair go at tackling them. But what we always really want to start with is a painful problem. And the IDA and ourselves gathered a group of companies together. And what we did was we ran our jobs to be done workshop. We have a very structured approach to innovation. We have a lot of tools that we leverage. And we worked with these organizations you saw on the previous slide. We worked them through our innovation process. And we started to hone in quite quickly on this idea that I've just discussed. That what would be really useful to solve a pain that was felt out there would be a national platform dedicated to core digital and data skills. But if it was to be a national platform, it really needed to support across these three different areas. Firstly, self-assessment, okay? This idea of understanding and valuing where I'm at with a specific skill set at this moment in time. From there, being able to align that or match it to my current role and future needs and see where I am. And having identified a gap, understanding that it's also providing the facilities to upskill. But that's e-learning, Peter. Yeah, it is to an extent, right? But what we're talking about here is joined up thinking across this cycle. Yeah? In this very specific area of core and digital data skills. We put together a project, and as I've mentioned, Cisco and Skillnet funded it. IDA supporting Cisco. DEFRS very much supporting Skillnet in these efforts. And ourselves as the RPO, with Trinity College, obviously, where we're hosted. This is how we envisaged the project. And we put this together, and this was prior to the agreement. We said we'll go through 7 stages in 3 cycles. 3 cycles of iteration, ultimately testing an integrated prototype at the end of this. But I'd ask you to just note that up until this point here, there's a try line. And the try line is there because we said, let's look at these three things individually. Let's look at the idea of how we match, assess, and foster. Open to the idea that we might find some stuff out there that's useful. And to that end, maybe we should focus our energies in a different direction. Little orange square indicates where we are right now. We're in stage 3. But having said that, this is September 2024, so this is moving along at a lick at the moment, yeah? We've still got a whole second stage of design to go, and then building the integrated prototype. This is something I just really wanted to show you. We never do any research without a working group. And our working groups are there to get the voice of industry into what we're doing. Because as you know, we're a near-term research centre. We're not worried about what's happening 10 years out. We're more concerned with what we can do in the near term. And to do that, we need the voice of industry. These are the associate partners on this TriSkill project. None of these are being paid, and they're all giving up their time on every stage that you saw in those 7 stages and contributing to the intelligence that will bring together this national platform. Small glance through them, and you can see we have a fantastic spread from public services with HSE, to pharma, to financials. You may not be familiar with this company. They're the holding company and they're a member of Learnovate and more popular under their brands, names like KFC, Pizza Hut, US firm. And we also have the SMEs represented in there with Cerecep, Aerogen, Takumi. So a fantastic spread and I know some of you guys are here today, contributing their time to try and make this project work. First, we had to go back and see, well, is the need out there? Because again, understanding, is this a painful problem? We started the project in April. Thank you, OECD, for producing this report in May, a month after we started, stating that yes, it very much is a problem. And we know from the research we did in stage 1, it's a big problem. We have countries, Australia, the UK, all having a go at tackling this problem. From our research, we really genuinely believe there's an opportunity for Ireland to set a gold standard here in how this should be done, because we're working with industry. We ran a survey. We asked 50 people, just a brief, quick survey, 50 people US, 50 people UK, 50 people Ireland. You can see the question there at the bottom. Future-proofing your team's digital and data skills. Yep, really, really important, but we're not just doing it yet. There's a problem out there. Everyone thinks it's really important. They're not doing anything about it yet. One of the main reasons they're not doing it, I reckon a lot of you could guess, it's because they're focused on the soft skills, the other transversal skills. So everybody's doing collaboration, communication, leadership, right? These fall into the transversal skills bracket, but they're seen behind them. So there's the inputs we had to our stage 1 research. We ran jobs to be done workshops, inside interviews with, again, not just those partners. We reached out to players in the industry. We ran our survey. We did state of the art, state of the market. And we analyzed this idea, skills frameworks, databases, AI, and then individually we researched the 3 areas of match, assess, and foster. One thing that was identified quite early on and repeatedly was that the problem lies, and we always talk about proto-personas, which is that whole idea of we don't go spending a couple of months developing out personas. We do it very rapidly and very quickly to get a flavor of who's the low-hanging fruit. If we had a solution for this in the morning, who'd be the first person we'd want to go to with it? And we got 2, but there's actually a sort of a symbiotic relationship between these 2. Early career staff, just out of college, first couple of years. And I'm sure this would resonate in the room. They come in, they have whatever discipline they've studied in spades, But you ask them to do an Excel sheet, they're stuck. So they haven't got these core digital and data skills, what's often referred to as the T skills, yeah? And God bless us, they're poor managers, right? So they have to try and get the work done with these guys. So these were identified as the two areas of focus for us. As I say, they don't rule us out. Let's zoom in a little bit on what do we mean by core digital and data skills. And we just did hear Digcom mentioned on the panel as well. And Digcom 2.2 actually has a huge amount of research into it and an awful lot of validity behind it. So it's a good, credible source. Sets out these 5 main competency areas, spreads out into 21 different skills, which in turn spread out to, I think, about 156 performance level competency ratings and on out into a KSA, knowledge, skills, and attitudes example. So it's a lovely base. By no means would we just take it as the Bible, but it actually gives a great steer towards the direction we might take with this project. So we felt that actually, given that we were focused on core digital data skills, Digcom 2.2 is not bad as a baseline idea of where we should go. We also started to understand quickly that you need frameworks like Digcom 2.2, and you need databases. When it comes to matching, you got to have these databases in place. Thank you, EC. They developed ESCO. So ESCO contains 13,000 job roles. I think it's 39,000 different skills, of which 27 of them are the Digcom 2.2 ones. Yeah. So there's a nice link for us there. And in case Paul's still listening, I won't mention the word, but you can read it down there at the bottom. We know there's a role for that to play, and we had an open mind to how we might bring that forward within this project. And you can see the bottom words, scenario development. That's actually one of the things we believe it can be helpful for as we move forward with this project. And we did research into basically how we might leverage that. So, looking at the 3 areas of match, assess, and foster. Match, this idea of matching to the skills needed for their current role and future role. A lot of players out there, including Workday, here today. Irish players, Skills Vista, One Purpose. A lot of sophistication in this space. I think it's Lightcast scan 51,000 sources every day to update their skills profiles, and they're scanning and skimming job CVs, applications, etc., all in sort of keeping up with the changing skills required for roles. But ultimately, when it all comes together, if you look in the middle, it basically does this. We understand the talent in a certain way, and they have their skills. And One Purpose, by the way, in particular, the Irish player, is very focused in on their experience as well and needs the culture fit. What sort of culture fit am I looking for? And then we have the employer and the roles and the gaps in the succession, etc. And in effect, this is trying to bring all that together. One theme that's emerging in this space is the idea of democratizing this information, by the way, that when I leave company A, my profile can come with me. It doesn't belong to them, it belongs to me. Bottom left of the screen. This whole idea, Forrester and Burson are talking about this sort of, we're moving towards the skill ontologies. Yeah, you'll no longer be called an accountant. You'll have that portfolio of skills, and that means you're a good or a bad fit for the gig, the project, whatever might be happening. Dystopian, I think, a little bit, but that's just a personal view. But apparently that's where they're predicting the puck is going to. So that's obviously something we needed to consider too. Moving on to assess. How do we meaningfully assess these digital and data skills? And in doing the research on this space, this one here, we've been really impressed with the EC to date, but this is their one. This is DigComp SAT, Self-Assessment Test SAT. In the first line of the descriptor, it says, well, actually, it's more of a self-reflection than a self-assessment. Because you just say, I think I'm a this, a this, a this, a this. Yeah? Nothing's been assessed. You've just rated yourself. Academia, Portugal Digital took a step forward, trying to get it a little bit more interactive, a little bit more linked to the skill you're actually trying to demonstrate. Fair dues. And yes, there are labs out there like Udemy who provide actually full-on demonstrate this digital skill on screen, and you can actually choose different levels. You can say, let me at it. You can say, give me a few nudges, or you can say, guide me all the way. A bit like playing Doom. So, but it tends to be focused into the more hard skills like Java and things like that. It's on the easier ones where it's quite easy to write that stuff up. Not that I'd write it up. So look, what we saw is that self-reflect is by far the biggest method out there of assessing digital and data skills. Yeah. Which to us is suboptimal. Yeah. What about foster? And by foster, I mean teaching, learning, fostering these skills. Again, a lot of video. A lot of short clip video out there in terms of how these skills are developed. Also an awful lot, and I talked about the joined up thinking. An awful lot of this is curated. So you go to the match engine and the match engine throws you out to a curated list from maybe Udemy or somebody else. In a generation where we're moving back towards apprenticeship, yeah? And let's remember that a skill is something you do, yeah? If we go back to skills like carpentry, they were traditionally taking this apprenticeship route. We're seeing them emerging again, and we wondered, could we do something in this space? This is all just feeding our brains, by the way, as we move through the first couple of months on the project. So that was match, assess, and foster. Summing it up, in the match space, a skill is something you do well. That distinguishes it. Some big players in this match space. Matching skill to need to role. Assess, huge amounts of reflection instead of assessment. Foster, some labs evidence in harder skills, but still a lot of video. We found no joined up thinking in this space. The problem exists, as we said, with this early career and their managers. And I have to say, this is a problem that's come to Learnovate for the last 5 years. From various professional organizations, the likes of the Big Four. When they do the milk round, what's coming in the door? Hasn't got the soft skills, yep, but also doesn't have these core digital data skills. So we reckon it's a good opportunity to innovate in this space. Into stage 2, associate partners, come on back. And we ran solution workshops with all of these partners again. And again, this is our structured approach to innovation, leveraging tools like opposite thinking, idea alphabet. One purpose, you ask somebody to come up with crazy thoughts, they just go, These are great tools for stretching people's thinking to try and get those wider ideas out of them. So we ran our second set, and that's just some of the ideas that were coming back to give us some direction around where we should be in terms of the intervention, in terms of the environment, how we might do the assessment, and how we might do the match. I'm not going to go through them, but we can see point of need, name words we've heard earlier today. Point of need, learning by doing, authentic, triangulated assessment, performance assessment. So as I said, where are we now? We're at this stage here. Now, albeit with a massively great heart, both Skillnet and Cisco and the associate partners are funding this research ultimately for the good of the nation. But it is at this moment in time still a funded research project by these partners, and we have permission to share where we're up to this point today. As it stands, we have a conversational prototype developed on how we do this. And I was smiling listening to Ryan Laverty and Nick Shackleton because you might recognize a lot of what we've got going in there. This is not courses. This is genuinely, the foster word is the way we want to go with this. We're going to foster skills through this platform, not teach them. As I say, that prototype is out there right now with all our associate partners and with the stakeholders. We'll be receiving feedback within the next week and going into the second cycle of design. This time next year, project should be finished. Its ambition was never to do anything except prove the approach, the models, and basically the methodologies to allow us to move on from there to scale it out. So through that trial. Thank you for listening very late in the day. Happy to take a question or two. I don't know how we are for time. Yeah, we're okay. But as I say, look, my main purpose here today was, I suppose, one, to tell you about Triskill, but also to show you what we're like when the wheels get moving, you know. Yeah. So, I don't know if there's any questions. All good? Okay. Oh, sorry, apologies. Peter, good to see you.
Just give me a minute, Peter, to get the mic. Thanks for your patience.
Got the jogging in there. What does foster mean in the sense that that's the key difference? You know, you're not training people or e-learning them or...
Yeah, I think the idea of fostering is nurturing. Sort of, it's not that idea of potentially directly teaching. We could sort of talk about the semantics of language, but I mean, when you foster something, you usually nurture it to grow. You don't teach it directly and then expect it to behave. Yeah? So it's in a useful fashion and a sort of different approach. As I say, Nick Shackleton's talk resonated very strongly with the way we're going with this. So to do that, you don't teach, you provide a usefulness and you show a value rather than just teaching to expect an outcome.
Sorry, I'm hiding behind the pillar.
Yeah.
You talked about it being focused on the data and data skills, or digital and data skills sector. With the speed that you're going, how long do you think it is until it's a model that can move into other industries or other sectors?
Sorry, okay. Well, maybe I wasn't clear on that. So this is a national platform for core digital and data skills. Now, again, moving on a little bit from where we are here, we have recognized that actually in the true transversal sense, you don't get a job because you have the DigComp 2.2 set. Rather, they're a fundamental component of lots of different jobs. And actually, they don't vary much. If we were to go back to that DigComp 2.2 slide, protecting your device, keeping your data safe online, at that level, they're very transversal. So they'll move from industry to industry without a need for change, which we're very pleased about. Makes it a bit easier. But they are, to that extent, transversal.
Hi.
Hi.
The scientist in me needs to ask this question, but you're talking a lot here about self-assessment.
Yeah.
According to metacognitive theory and scientific learning theory, most people either overestimate or underestimate their abilities and what they're doing. So how are the core skills of learning how to learn being embedded before they're even able to assess?
Okay, I'm saying that the self-assessment that exists at the moment is self-reflective, and we're moving beyond that to self-assessment by practice, by doing, yeah? And then receiving feedback on that. Yeah. So it's social cognitive theory at its best. Yeah. This is the apprentice model, vicarious and enactive learning, demonstrated by others, having a go in a safe space, modeling it that way.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks very much for your time, guys. Cheers.